All right, so Vola didn't just send me yet another bass. They sent me a 5-string that, at least on paper, looks like it should be competing way above its price point. So this is the Vola ZVA5, and today I want to figure out if this thing is just another pretty bass with some really nice specs, or if this is actually a serious bass for modern players who need tight, low B string clarity, aggressive tones, clean versatility, and a neck that doesn't feel like you're playing a tree trunk. Because if this thing can actually deliver on all of that, especially for the kind of tones I actually care about, this might genuinely be one of the most surprising basses I've played in a really long time. So today we're gonna put it through clean tones, active and passive modes, some heavier stuff, and seeing whether this bass is just cool to look at or actually hard for me to want to send back. Now, before we get too deep into the specs, I just want to look at this thing for a second. The finish is wild. The roasted maple neck looks absolutely incredible. And right off the bat, this already feels like Vola is trying to do a lot more than just make another generic 5-string. My immediate thoughts, this neck matters a lot because 5-strings can very quickly start feeling bulky, awkward, or like you're fighting the instrument, kind of like a poorly made 7-string might. This does not feel like that. The low B string feels tight, the pickups sound extremely clear, and honestly, this already feels way more refined than I expected. All right, and now for the important stuff, and I'm only focusing on the specs that actually matter to how this bass plays. So we've got a 34.5-inch scale, active and passive options for the J-style pickup array on it. We have an active onboard EQ, a maple neck with a modern C neck profile that honestly feels like it's built for people that actually want versatility instead of just heritage, and a Goto bridge and tuners with a premium gig bag. So on paper, this thing checks a lot of boxes, but obviously specs only matter if the bass actually delivers, and I think it's safe to say this bass more than delivers. All right, so I want to start simple. We want to hear how this bass does before any extra coloration, and so we're going to start on the passive setting, which means none of the onboard EQ is doing anything on here. I have the blend set to 50-50 between the neck and the bridge, and we will kind of blend between that so you can hear it. I am going through the Subway Plus Bass Preamp 2 from Mesa Boogie. This did just come out, so this is my first like foray with messing with it, and so far so good. It sounds pretty damn good. But here's the bass, no pun intended, tone on the passive setting on the ZVA5. I know I'm in the wrong tuning for that song. Don't care. We are tuned to drop D on the 4 strings, and then I do have this tuned to B on the low B. Not bad for really clean signal, right? This sounds really good just as is. And you'll notice on the Subway, I'm basically at noon on just about everything. But other than that, really simple settings on here. It just sounds good. I want to point out how clear that low B sounds. Now let's go ahead and hear those same riffs just under the active treatment. So here's passive, and now here's active. And that's with all of the EQ at the midway point. Let's go ahead and go back to passive and hear that same little. And now let's do passive, but let's go ahead and switch between the pickups. All the way the other way. And then we'll do the same thing on the active setting. So we're back between both pickups here. And now we're going to go all the way one way. And the other way. I think it sounds pretty damn incredible just like that. And it's hard to get over how clear and articulate this bass already is. So lots of really, really sick sounds. I think we need to take it a step further though, because y'all watch my channel for metal videos most of the time, metal and rock, right? As great as the Subway Plus sounds, I think we need to get something more high gain. I do have the Darkglass Alpha Omega Ultra from Darkglass Electronics, so I'm gonna go ahead and move everything around and plug that in because I wanna hear this under some gain now. I think it's time to hear it under some gain for sure. All right, so I have the Darkglass Alpha Omega Ultra set back up here, and you can tell by all the lights, I've messed with the EQ a little bit on it since my first video where I introduced this bass but didn't really test it very much. So let's go ahead and hear what the clean channel on the Alpha Omega sounds like. And that's on the active setting. Let's go back to passive. And let's give it some gain. So this is with just a little bit of gain. Let's go ahead and crank that drive a little bit though. Halfway on it. Let's go ahead and do that under the active setting now. It's a little bit more of a scooped sound there if I lower the mids on the onboard EQ. But I like mids in my bass tone, so let's bring it back up. Let's go ahead and bring some highs out of it and see what it sounds like. And then we'll raise them a little bit. It's a little bit more grindy there. Let's go ahead and crank the drive and see what we get. Let's go ahead and go back to the passive setting now. So what do you guys like so far the best? Do you like the active setting on this or do you like the passive setting? So let's go ahead and mess around just a little bit more with the passive setting so that way we can hear how the passive setting sounds under all this gain. Do those same riffs over back on the active setting. So for me, a lot of that is make or break territory for a lot of 5 strings, and it's really hard to let that low B do its thing. And that low B is really where a lot of 5 strings either hold up or completely fall apart. And I don't know if you could tell by what you just heard, but I really do think that this bass actually holds up really, really well. That low B is extremely clear undergain and with a clean tone as well. So here's where I think this bass actually gets interesting. This doesn't feel like a one-trick bass, and if you're a modern player and you need to play heavier stuff, you need versatility while recording, or if you just want a 5-string that doesn't feel like an absolute tree trunk, this bass makes a strong case for itself. And honestly, that's probably what surprised me the most. And after spending real time with this Vola ZVA5, I can honestly say that this thing surprised me. This isn't just a flashy bass with a cool finish. This is actually a bass that feels like a serious instrument that can cover a lot of ground. The low B feels and sounds great. The tonal options are pretty much endless, and they're actually useful, and most importantly, it made me actually want to keep playing it. And for me, that says a lot. That being said, I want to say a huge thank you to Vola for sending me this ZVA5 bass and the 2 other guitars that I demoed that are linked on the description below. And this bass impressed me so much that I actually reached back out to them to ask if I could purchase it from them instead of sending it back. And they were kind enough to actually gift this bass to me in exchange for all of these videos that I've been making. So you all can actually expect to see a lot more videos and a lot more songs and content with this bass, because this is gonna become my daily driver now. I really actually do love this bass. So thank you again, Vola Guitars, for trusting me with this bass. I'm really over the moon about it. I really love this bass. But if you all have any questions about this bass or the other Vola instruments that I've demoed, please drop them down below. I want to know from you, would you rock this over your current 5-string bass? And if you own a 5-string already, what is your biggest deal breaker? The neck, the low B tension, pickups? Let me know what your deal breaker is. But as always, peace and love, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye now.